Get this goddamn... How do I don't ever want to say this again. Neuralink update.
Hello everybody, my name is Alex Tudley. I'm the second participant in the Neuralink study, and I'm here to count us down to the demo. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Neuralink presentation. This is an update for the progress of the Neuralink team. It's been an incredible amount of progress. This is, we're going to start off high level, generally describing what Neuralink's doing, and then we're going to have a very deep technical dive, so you can actually get an understanding of what exactly we're doing at a granular level and what we can do to enhance human capabilities and ultimately build a great future for humanity. So that's neurons firing. It's funny to think that me talking right now is a bunch of neurons firing that then result in speech that you hear, and of course neurons fire in your brain.
That's fucking crazy.
Part of this presentation is about demystifying the brain. It is a remarkable organ. I mean, we are the brain, basically. When you say you, that really is you're the brain. Like you can get a heart transplant, you can get a kidney transplant, but I don't know anyone who's gotten a brain transplant. So you are your brain. And your experiences are these neurons firing with trillions of synapses that somehow lead to conscious comprehension of the world. This is something that we have only begun to understand. We're really just barely at the beginning of understanding of what is the nature of consciousness. And I thought a lot about what is consciousness? What is it? Where does consciousness arise? Because if you start at the beginning of the universe...
What does this have to do with Neuralink? Elon, please.
If physics is true, the standard model of physics is true, then you have this Big Bang, the matter condensing into stars, those stars exploding. A lot of the atoms that are in your body right now were once at the center of stars. Those stars exploded, recondensed. Fast forward 13.8 billion years, and here we are. And somewhere along that very long journey, to us at least, consciousness arose, or the molecules started talking to each other. And it begs the question of what is consciousness. Is everything conscious? Maybe. It's hard to say where along that line. There's no sort of discrete point where consciousness didn't exist and then suddenly does exist. It seems to be maybe you have a condensation of matter that has a density of... We don't know what... The real answer is we don't know what consciousness is. But with Neuralink and the progress that the company's making, we'll begin to understand a lot more about consciousness and what does it mean to be. Along the way, we're going to solve a lot of brain issues where the brains get injured or damaged in some way or didn't develop in quite the right way. There's a lot of brain and spine injuries that we'll solve along the way. And I do want to emphasize that this is all going to happen quite slowly, meaning you'll see it coming. Sometimes people think that suddenly there will be vast number.
They think that like what? Self-driving in a year?
Of Neuralinks all over the place. This is not going to be sudden. You'll be able to watch it happen, over the course of several years.
We'll probably finish it on Mars.
And we go through exhaustive regulatory approvals. So this is not something that we're just doing by ourselves without government oversight. We work closely with the regulators every step of the way. We're very cautious with Neuralinks in humans. That's the reason we're not moving faster than we are, is because we're taking great care with each individual to make sure we never miss. So what we're creating here with a Neuralink device is a generalized input-output technology for the brain. So it's how you get information into or out of the brain, and do so in a way that does not damage the brain or cause any negative side effects. So it's a very hard problem. And generally, the reactions I've seen to this range from it's impossible to it's already been done before. Those people should meet, actually. The reality is that there actually have been limited range. Generally, the reactions I've seen to this range from it's impossible to it's already been done before. Those people should meet, actually. The reality is
I'm sorry.
that there actually have been...
That was the first Neuralink demo. He flipped the switch to make them all laugh for 2 seconds.
What we're doing with Neuralink is dramatically increasing the bandwidth by many orders of magnitude. So a human bandwidth output is less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day. So there's 86,400 seconds in a day. It's very rare for a person to do more than 86,400 bits of output per day. You'd have to be really talking a lot or typing all day, and you might exceed that.
How are we defining bit here? What does that mean? Or what? Can somebody explain? Words? How could you encode a word in less than a bit? What does that even...
So,
or is it something I don't understand here, or what?
What we're talking about here is going from maybe 1 bit per second to ultimately megabits and then gigabits per second. And the ability to do consensual telepathy. Now, the input to the brain is much higher, especially because of vision. Depending upon how you count it, it might be on the order of a megabit or in the megabit range. for input primarily due to sight.
What does that mean? Certainly it must be higher than that, right? I have a 1 megabit per second. Like, it certainly must be higher, right? Are my eyes really that fucking horrible?
But even for input, we think that can be dramatically increased to the gigabit plus level. And a lot of the thinking that we do
You can increase the data rate of my eyeballs?
is we take a concept in our mind and we compress that into a small number of symbols. So when you're trying to communicate with somebody else, you're actually trying to model their mind state, and then take perhaps quite a complex idea that you have, maybe even a complex image or scene or kind of mental video, and try to compress that into a few words or a few keystrokes. And it's necessarily going to be very lossy. Your ability to communicate is very limited by how fast you can talk and how fast you can type. And what we're talking about is unlocking that potential to enable you to communicate, like I said, thousands, perhaps millions of times faster than is currently possible. This is an incredibly profound breakthrough. This would be a fundamental change to what it means to be a human. So we're starting off with reducing human suffering. So we're addressing issues that people have, say, if they've been in an accident or they have some neural disease that's degenerative, so they're losing capability to move their body, or some kind of injury, essentially.
Okay.
So enabling, our first product is called telepathy, and that enables someone who has lost the ability to command their body to be able to communicate with a computer and move the mouse and actually operate a computer with roughly the same dexterity, ultimately much more dexterity than a human with working hands. Then our next product is blind sight, which will enable those who have total loss of vision, including if they've lost their eyes or the optic nerve, or maybe have never seen, or even blind from birth, to be able to see again. Initially low resolution, but ultimately very high resolution, and then in multiple wavelengths. So you could be like Geordi LaForge in Star Trek, and you can see in radar, you can see in infrared, ultraviolet, superhuman capabilities.
Okay.
Cybernetic enhancement, essentially.
Jeez.
And then along the way, this should help us understand a lot more about consciousness. What does it mean to be a conscious creature? We'll understand vastly more about the nature of consciousness as a result of this. And then ultimately, I think this helps mitigate the civilizational risk of artificial intelligence.
Thank God.
We are actually already, we already sort of have 3 layers of thinking. There's the limbic system, which is your kind of your instincts, your cortical system, which is your higher level planning and thinking, and then the tertiary layer, which is the computers and machines that you interact with, like your phone, all the applications you use.
Never mind.
So people actually are already a cyborg. You can maybe have an intuitive sense for this by how much you miss your phone if you leave it behind. Leaving your phone behind is it's almost like missing limb syndrome. Your phone is somewhat of an extension of yourself, as is your computer. So you already have this digital tertiary layer, but the bandwidth between your cortex and your digital tertiary layer is limited by speech and by how fast you can move your fingers and how fast you can consume information visually. Mm-hmm. But I think it's actually very important for us to address that input-output bandwidth constraint in order for the collective will of humanity to match the will of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
That's my intuition, at least. So let's see. And what this presentation is mostly about is attracting smart humans to come and work with us on this problem. So this is not a presentation to raise money or anything like that. We're actually very well funded. We have a lot of great investors. Some of the smartest people in the world are invested in Neuralink. But we need smart humans to come here and help solve this problem. So with that, let's proceed.
Yes.
Hey everyone, my name is DJ. I'm a co-founder and president of Neuralink. And as Elon mentioned, well, actually, we're standing in the middle of our robot space. We have a stage set up, but this is actually where
I want big balls.
Some of the next generation, most advanced surgical robots are being built. So welcome to our space. It's important to highlight that this technology is not being built in the dark. This is not a secret lab where we're not sharing any of the progress. In fact, we're actually sharing the progress very openly, and as well as also telling you exactly what we're going to be doing. And we're hoping to progress on that as diligently and as safely and as carefully as possible. So to start off, 2 years ago when we did our previous fundraising round, we outlined this path and timeline to first human. And we currently have clinical trials in the US for a product that we call telepathy, which allows users to control phone or computer purely with their thoughts. And you're going to see how we do this and what the impact that this has had. And not only have we launched this clinical trial, but as of today, we have not just 1, but 7 participants, and we have an approval.
Clapper.
And we also have an approval to launch this trial in Canada, UK, and the UAE.
Clapper.
So I guess before we dive into what this technology is and what we built, but I wanted to quickly share a video with you guys of when our first 5 participants met each other for the first time. So here you go.
All right, we have everyone together.
What's up, guys?
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Definitely want to introduce all of you.
Yeah, I'm Nolan, aka P1.
My name's Alex. I am the second participant in the Neuralink study.
I am Brad Smith, the ALS cycler P3.
My name is Mike, G4, have ALS like Brad does.
Yeah, I'm RJ. I'm P5, and I guess I'm kind of the newest one to the team here. So yeah, appreciate it, Nolan, trailblazer. You know, somebody's got to go first, man. That was you. Appreciate that.
What's been your favorite thing you've been able to do with the Neuralink so far?
I've just had a good time being able to use it as I travel, flying and drawing a little mustache on a cat. Had a lot of fun doing that. I mean, I've just had a good time playing around with it. Oh, you know what? I do know what my favorite BCI feature is. Probably not a feature, but I love WebGrid more than I love anything in my life, probably. I think I could play that game nonstop forever.
Has to be Fusion 360. Being able to design parts. Design the hat logo with the BCI.
Oh, that's what's up.
Pretty sweet.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Yep. I have a little Arduino that takes input from my quad stick, converts it into a PPM signal to go to a RC truck.
Cool.
Little rock crawler. Well,
Cool.
with the BCI, I wrote code to drive the plane with the quad stick.
That's awesome.
The best thing I like about Neuralink is being able to continue to provide for my family and continue working.
I think my favorite
Show me
thing is
how it
probably.
works. I want to see something.
I do a thing.
Now, one of the major figure of merits that we have is to keep track of monthly hours of independent BCI use. Effectively, are they using the BCI? And not at the clinic, but at their home. And what we have noticed, and this is a plot of all of the different participants, first 5 participants, and their usage per month over the course of the last year and a half. And we're averaging around 50 hours a week of usage, and in some cases, peak usage of more than 100 hours a week, which is pretty much every waking moment.
Clapper.
So I think it's been incredible to see all of our participants demonstrating greater independence through their use of BCI. Not only that, we've also accelerated our implantation cadence as we've amassed evidence of both clinical safety as well as value to our participants.
You
So
can't be
to
down
date,
there.
we have 4 spinal cord injury participants as well as 3 ALS participants, with the last 2 surgeries happening within 1 week of each other.
Clapper.
And we're just beginning. This is just tip of the iceberg. Our end goal is to really build a whole brain interface. And what do we mean by whole brain interface? We mean being able to listen to neurons everywhere, be able to write information to neurons anywhere, be able to have that fast data wireless transfer to enable that high bandwidth connection from our biological brain to the external machines, and be able to do all of this with fully automated surgery, as well as enable 24 hours of usage. And towards that goal, we're really working on 3 major product types. Elon mentioned earlier that our goal is to build a generalized input-output platform and technology to the brain. So for the output portion of it, which is extremely slow through our meat sticks, as Elon calls them, meat hands that are holding the mics, we're starting out with helping people with movement disorders, either through where they lost the mind-body connection, either through a spinal cord injury, ALS, or stroke, be able to regain some of that digital as well as physical independence through a product that we're building called telepathy. And this is our opportunities to build a high-channel read and output device. On the input side of things, there's opportunities for us to help people that have lost the ability to see, be able to regain that sight again through a product that we're calling Blind Sight. And this is our opportunity to build high-channel write capabilities. And last but not least, be able to also help people that are suffering from neurological debilitating dysregulation or psychiatric conditions or neuropathic pain by inserting our electrodes in reaching any brain regions to be able to insert them not just on the cortical layer, but into the sulci as well as deeper parts of the brain, the so-called limbic system, to really enable better opportunities to just regain some of that independence. Our North Star metrics is 1, increasing the number of neurons that we can interface with, and 2nd, to expand to many diverse areas, any parts of the brain, starting with microfabrication or lithography to change the way in which we can actually increase the number of neurons that we can see from a single channel, and also doing mixed signal chip design to actually increase the physical channel count, to increase more neurons that we can interface to sort of allow more information from the brain to the outside world. And then everything we built from day 1 of the company has always been read and write capable. And with telepathy, our first product, the focus has been on the read capabilities or the output. And we want to hone in on our write capability and also show that through accessing deeper regions within the visual cortex, that we can actually achieve functional vision. through what the product evolution is going to look like in the next 3 years. Today, what we have is 1,000 electrodes in the motor cortex, the small part of the brain that you see in this animation called the hand knob area, that allows participants control computer cursors as well as gaming consoles. Next quarter, we're planning to implant in the speech cortex to directly decode attentive words from brain signals to speech. And in 2026, not only are we going to triple the number of electrodes from 1,000 to 3,000 for more capabilities, we're planning to have our first blindside participant to enable navigation. And in 2027, we're going to...
Show me. I want to see something working now. Show me.
What's up, guys? My name is Sahaj.
I just said that. I'm sorry.
I'm from the brain-computer interface team here at Neuralink.
Yes.
And I'm going to be talking about two things today. The first thing is, what exactly is a Neuralink device capable of doing right now? And the second one is, how does that actually impact the day-to-day lives of our users? Very simply put, what the Neuralink device does right now is it allows you to control devices simply just by thinking. Now, to put that a bit more concretely, I'm about to play a video of our first user. His name is Nolan, if you remember from DJ Section. And what Nolan is doing is he's looking at a normal off-the-shelf MacBook Pro. And with his Neuralink device, as you're going to see, he's going to be able to control the cursor simply with his mind, no eye tracking, no other sensors. And what's special about this particular moment is this is the first time someone is using a Neuralink device to fully control their cursor. This is not your ordinary brain-controlled cursor. This is actually a record-breaking control, literally on day one, beating decades of brain-computer research. And I'm about to show you the clip. On day one, Nolan breaking the BCI world record.
Whoa! Just beat the world record.
Oh shit. Yeah. Sorry. Congrats.
Oh, well done, man. Well done. Wait, what I meant? He's a new world record holder.
Oh, no way. The first day.
There's all the confetti.
Yes. This was a surprise. It's more for 1 of 5.
I thought it was higher. I thought I would have to get to 5 or something. Oh my gosh.
Listen, I'm happy for you. Can we see this working, please?
Crazy.
What?
It's pretty cool.
Most of that video didn't even have the cursor on the screen.
Yeah, another really fun thing you could do with the Neuralink device outside of
Are you serious right now?
Controlling a computer cursor is you could actually plug it in through USB through a lot of different devices. And here we actually have Nolan playing Mario Kart. Now, what's special about this particular clip is Nolan is not the only cyborg playing Mario Kart in this clip. We actually have a whole community of users, as mentioned earlier, and this is literally 5 of our first users of Neuralink playing Mario Kart together over call. Yeah. Now, yeah, Mario Kart it's cool. You know, you're using one joystick and then you're clicking like a couple of buttons to throw items. What would be even cooler is what if you could control 2 joysticks at once, simultaneously with your mind. What I'm about to show you, and I think this is for the first time someone playing a first-person shooter game with a brain-computer interface. This is Alex and RJ playing Call of Duty, controlling one joystick to move and then the other joystick to, like, point your gun and then shooting people as a button. Here's
I just want to say that if this was a George Soros-funded project, every single conservative would say we are literally implanting brain chips into people from the same guy who owns companies that do satellite stuff that can beam instructions down to anybody on the planet, and then we're training people with ALS to become super soldiers in FPS with brain chips that are like, just saying, you know.
Here's Alex shooting another person.
Right. Oh, dear God.
Holy shit.
Oh, no.
It's my CSGO teammates.
I know, dude. I want him to freaking shoot you won't. I do.
RJ, Alex got you.
I know, dude. Shot me in the face.
Now that we have a bit of a sense of what the BCI can do, a very important question to answer is...
Listen. If I could see... Okay, let me just... This is... Okay, careful. My shit is so outdated. I think I was searching for, like, brain control tech, like, 10 years ago on the internet. It's like, oh, shit, this stuff has, like, come really far, like, controlling limbs and everything. And what I found out when I looked it up, this was, like, 10 or 15 years ago, every single brain-controlled device was, in actuality, like, somebody got, like, their fucking hand chopped off, and they would just, like, attach a thing here that could detect, like, fine motor movements here from the neurons in your arm. It wasn't actually, there was no like brain connecting shit. It was just reading the activity of the tendons in your arm that, you know, you had a missing fucking hand, and then it would translate that into movements, which is cool, I guess. It was not really like a brain connection. If they truly have a microchip in their brain that with absolutely no muscular input whatsoever can move a cursor on a screen with a high degree of accuracy and precision, that would be like the coolest fucking thing in the world. I just want to show me like 5 minutes of that. I just want to see 5 minutes of that without any other part of their body moving or anything else. Because this...
Here's Alex shooting another person.
Oh,
this is
God.
not... hold on.
I know, dude. When I want him to freaking shoot, he won't. When I do,
RJ, Alex got you.
This is not real. This is not happening on their mind. That they are moving multiple joysticks simultaneously and can
shot me in the face.
And moving a D-pad or whatever, or like running. This is not happening with just their brain. I don't believe that. There's 0% chance that this is happening without any type of physical input anywhere. If it is, this is the coolest thing in the universe. But show me, like, maybe it'll be in this video. I can't believe I'm wasting my time watching this. I'm just gonna be disappointed. I know I am.
Now that we have a bit of a sense of what the BCI can do, a very important question to answer is, how does this impact the day-to-day lives of the people that use it every day?
How about, can we just show this like for real working? For real? Like,
so I'm about to show you a clip, going back to Nolan for a second, where he talks. We simply just asked him randomly during a day how he enjoys using the BCI a couple months ago. And this is his candid reaction.
I work basically all day from when I wake up. I'm trying to wake up at like 6 or 7 a.m. and I'll do work until session. I'll do session.
Maybe I'm like critical in a way that maybe people that understand this better just aren't, because it's like I have like my issue is retarded and it's not actually related to this. But like if I can't see a full shot of the body, I'm not trusting it. I don't know if he's like doing something with his fingers over here to like maneuver it a little bit, or because why like pull back a little bit more, zoom out, show me the hand. Why is the hand hidden over here? Ugh.
Wake up. I'm trying to wake up at like 6 or 7 a.m. and I'll do work until session. I'll do session and then I'll work until, you know.
Also, we have a full shot of the monitor right here. Why do you don't have to put a second overlay up?
11, 12 p.m. or 12 a.m.
Wow.
I'm doing, like, I'm learning my languages. I'm learning my math. I'm like relearning all of my math. I am writing. I am doing a class. My math. I'm like relearning all of my math. I am writing. I am doing a class that I signed up for, and I wanted to point out that like this is not something I would be able to do without the Neuralink.
Next, I want to talk a bit about.
This is not something class
So
that
like
I signed
for
up
this
for,
here,
and I wanted to point out that like this is not something.
Like at the very least, it looks like he's clicking with his hand. But I mean, if he's controlling even the movement of the mouse, that's really cool. I just can't.
I would be able to do without
Or it looks
the
like he
Neuralink.
is.
Next, I want to talk a bit
I
about
don't
Brad.
know.
You guys
Fuck, dude, I don't know. Whatever.
may already know him as the ALS cyborg, and Brad also has ALS. And what separates him from other users is he's actually nonverbal, so he can't speak. Why this is pretty relevant is he relies, at least before the Neuralink, on an eye gaze machine to communicate. And a lot of eye gaze machines you can't use outdoors. You really need like a dark room. So what this means is for the last 6 years since Brad's been diagnosed with ALS, he's really unable to leave his house. Now with the Neuralink device, we're going to show you a clip of him with his kids at the park, shot by Ashley Vance and the team.
Okay, you guys ready? Yeah. No, I'm still speaking. Okay.
I'm absolutely doing more with Neuralink than I was doing with eye gaze.
Holy! Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, you just went from a wheelchair to biking now?
I'm absolutely doing more with Neuralink than I was doing with eye gaze.
That's a little misleading. I'm just kidding.
I've been a Batman for a long time, but I go outside now. Going outside has been a huge blessing for me. And I can control the computer with telepathy.
Dad's watching. Look, he's watching on the camera. Did he lose one of the arms?
The last user I want to talk about is Alex. You've seen some clips of him earlier.
Wait, what was she saying there? Did you hear that? If he moves one of the arms, his arms?
Did he lose one of the arms?
The last user I want to talk about is Alex. You've seen some clips of him earlier. What's special about Alex to me?
What was he even controlling with his mind there?
Is he's a fellow left-handed guy who writes in cursive all the time. And what he mentioned is since a spinal cord injury from like 3-4 years ago, he's been unable to just like draw or write. And he always brags about how good his handwriting was. So we actually got to put it to the test. We gave him a robotic arm. And I think this is the first time he tried using the robotic arm to write anything. And this is a sped up version of writing at the convoy trial and drawing something.
Like, if I'm understanding this correctly, and again, I don't know where the current state of research is, this would be like the most insanely high precision literally, if this is like a direct fucking feed from the brain, this is a crazy. And I'm sure they have made some improvements. I don't think this whole company is just a scam or whatever. But like, I just wish I could see more. Do they have like a fucking video with more detail instead of this whatever bullshit?
Anything. This is a sped-up version of writing at the convoy trial and drawing something. Now, yeah, controlling a robotic arm is cool, but this one has a clamp. And what would be cooler is if you could decode the actual fingers, the actual wrist, all the muscles of the hand in real time. Just in the past couple of weeks.
Tesla AI optimized robots clearly being controlled by humans.
Here we go. Take it step right up anytime.
Oh no, this is not what I'm going to. Fuck you.
We were able to do that with Alex, and you're about to see him and his uncle playing a game.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Now scissors, rock. Bullshit. Thumb war?
Cool. Controlling, yeah, that's pretty dope. I don't know. And controlling a robotic hand on screen is obviously not super helpful for most people. Fortunately, we have connections with Tesla, who have.
It's a physical device implanted onto the motor cortex that reads the neuronal spikes. This is generally where the field is currently at. Can this help for people that have a normal, healthy, functioning body? Because, like, do you have extra neurons for extra control of things that if you like have all your limbs and everything? I can understand if you have like missing limbs, there's like parts of your brain that might have neurons that aren't wired to anything, but would you be able to?
Replacing a piece of skull with like a smartwatch, for lack of a better analogy.
Shut up. Stop.
Scan, which is not something I was able to do beforehand.
You just played some music?
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Do you worry because you are the first patient that something unforeseen could go wrong now that this is inside your head?
I wouldn't say worry. It was something where I knew that if I did this, then it would take a lot of headache and heartache away from the people down the road.
Just last week, news that some of the threads in Nolan's brain had retracted, affecting the performance of the device.
How'd you take the news when they told you that the threads had retracted?
Yeah, it was really hard. It was very, very hard to give up all of the amazing things that I was able to do. I think I had like cried basically afterwards.
The problem becoming an opportunity for the makers of Neuralink to explore solutions.
The reason we do clinical trial and early feasibility trial is to uncover these sort of issues as early as possible before they get marketed. And we rolled up our sleeves.
That's the guy.
Found.
And I said, "What's Neuralink?"
Neuralink, co-founded by Elon Musk, is an experimental implantable brain-computer interface, or BCI, a chip surgically implanted by a robot and connected by threads to a patient's brain that allows the patient to control a computer or smartphone with their mind.
This is all from there to there.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Neuralink is not the only company working on this technology. Several others are also testing their BCIs in paralyzed volunteers. Nolan now joins that small group as Neuralink's first patient.
I was just...
What does it feel like?
Very happy that I
Like, what is the... Like, how does he move a thing? What is he thinking?
Be a part of something that I believe is so monumental in this.
I have the Optimus hand, and we're actually actively working on giving Alex an Optimus hand so that he could actually control it in his real life. And here's actual replay of the end of that video using Alex's neural signals on an Optimus hand. Sean, if you want to play that. Yeah.
Actually, let me maybe add a few things to that.
It decodes pure intention rather than muscle neurons. What does intention mean?
Which is, as we advance the Neuralink devices, you should be able to actually have full body control and sensors from an Optimus robot. So you could basically inhabit an Optimus robot. It's not just the hand, the whole thing. So you could like basically mentally remote into an Optimus robot and be kind of.
I don't know. Whatever. I would invest in this. Okay, if this is like a 45-minute video, just like talking about like because that thing that was in the other video was really cool. That was cool in this entire fucking dog shit fucking 33 minutes we watched so far. Where was this thing? This thing.
Which is human trial.
Musk or BCI, a chip surgically implanted by a robot and connected by threads.
So this isn't using any bullshit muscle movement, you know, somewhere downstream. So this is actually reading pure ideology, pure neural activity right from the dome.
To a patient's brain that allows the patient to
I just want to hear. I don't want to hear about your thinking about jumping into fucking robots, bro. Go do ketamine. Like, why? You get self-driving on your car, okay?
Mentally remote into an Optimus robot and be kind of cool. The future's going to be weird, but pretty cool. And then now another thing that can be done also is like for people that have say lost a limb, lost an arm or a leg or something like that. Then we think in the future we'll be able to attach an Optimus arm or legs, and so you kind of like
Neuralink
from Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker gets his hand, you know, chopped off with a lightsaber, and he gets kind of a robot hand. And I think that's the kind of thing that we'll be able to do in the future, working with Neuralink and Tesla. So so it goes far beyond just operating a robot.
He thinks Tesla's going to be around by the time this stuff is working.
But replacing limbs and having kind of a whole body robot experience. And then I think another thing that will be possible, I think is very likely in the future, is to be able to bridge the where the damaged neurons are. So you can take the signal from the brain and transmit that signal past where the neurons are damaged or strained to the rest of the body. So you could reanimate the body. So that if you have a Neuralink implant in the brain and then one in the spinal cord, then you can actually bridge the signals and you could walk again and have full body functionality. Obviously, that's what people would prefer. To be clear, we realize that would be the preferred outcome. And so that even if you have a broken neck, or you could still, we believe, I'm actually, at this point, I'd say fairly confident that at some point in the future, we'll be able to restore full body functionality.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Nir, and I'm leading the BCI application group. And I think the videos that Sahej just showed with you, I probably watched them maybe thousands of times, but still I get a goosebump every time I watch them. And I think this is one of the cool perks here at Neuralink when you get a job, is that you might get a goosebump every week, or maybe every few days in good weeks. And this is really fun. As an engineer, it's really cool because you can build a new feature, you can build a new machine learning model, a new software feature, and test it on the same day with the participant and get feedback. And you already saw with our first device, telepathy, that we can address a very diverse needs of the different users that we have, from moving a cursor to playing games, to move a robotic arm with multiple fingers. And we could not have done it without the Neuralink device. The Neuralink device gives us something that no other device can give us, which is a single neuron recording from thousands of channels simultaneously. The telepathy product is basically recording the neural activity from the small area in the motor cortex that involve in execution of hand and arm movements. But if we go only about 2 or 3 inches below, there's another brain area that's involved in execution of speech. And with the same device, with the same machine learning model architecture, the same software pipeline, the same surgical robot, we can have a new application, and we can do it very quickly. It's really interesting that if we can decode someone's intention to speak silently and non-vocal communication, we can use that to revolutionize the way we interact with computers, with technology, and with information.
I wonder what it means to send an intention, like neurologically, without actually doing the thing. Don't go back there. I feel like you're going to do evil deeds. I don't know if this cat eats cords. Hey, what's going on? Why are you back there, buddy? My shit shuts off. I'm gone.
Instead of typing with your finger or like moving the mouse or talking to your phone, you'll be able to interact with the computer with the speed of thoughts. It will make this interaction much faster and much more intuitive. The computers will understand what you want.
From what I remember, it's trying to brain data. Yeah, but I'm curious, like, so if I say the word, you know, like cat, but then I have the intention of saying the word cat, certainly those are different neural pathways, right? But I'm curious what the difference is.
You want to do. And we can also expand that to AI. We can now build an interface with AI that you will be able to retrieve information, will be able to store our thoughts anywhere, anytime, privately and silently. Again, because we build a fundamental technology, a platform, and we do everything in-house. We own the entire stack, from neurons to pixels on the user's computer. Now I'll pass it to Ruz to talk about UI for BCI.
Thank you, Neil. Each spike that our implant detects goes on a fairly remarkable journey to ultimately form a pixel on a participant's display. And that experience starts with, of course, unboxing. The very first time that a participant pairs to and meets their implant, this invisible part of their body, and sees their own spikes materialize across the display. From there, they'll go into body mapping and actually imagine moving their arm again and get a feel for what feels natural to them and what doesn't. And they'll take that into calibration, using one of those motions to actually move a cursor again, iteratively refining their control as they go throughout this process until, finally, they're teleported back to their desktop and can experience the magic of neural control for the very first time. And our control interfaces is where the OS integration that we do really shines, letting us adapt both control and feedback for every interaction. So for familiar interactions like scrolling, we can surface an indicator over the scrollable parts of the display.
Just thinking about, I wonder if, I mean, these guys don't know. I wonder, just thinking about moving your hand, use the same part of your brain as actually moving your hand?
Gravity to automatically pop a participant's cursor onto that indicator as they approach display.
Oh.
Show the actual velocities that we decode inside of it, and add a bit of momentum to those velocities to carry them forward as they glide across the page. There are also unique interactions that we need to solve for in this space. For example, when a participant is watching a movie or just talking to somebody next to them, the brain is very active still, and that activity can actually induce motion in the cursor, distracting them from that moment. So when a participant wants to just get their cursor out of the way, they can push it into the edge of the display to park it there. And of course, we add gravity to sort of hold it still, but they can push it out with either just a firm push or, in this case, a gesture. And of course, it goes without saying that all of these control interfaces are designed hand in hand with our participants. So huge shout out to both Nolan and Brad for helping us design these two. And those control interfaces, of course, extend to typing. We have a great software keyboard that does everything you'd expect it to, popping up when a participant clicks on a text field, giving them feedback about the click along the surface of the key, and supporting both dictation and swipe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Harrison, an ML engineer here at Neuralink. And I must say, being an ML engineer at Neuralink is a bit like being a kid in a candy store. When you think of the inputs to most ML systems out there, you might think of pixels, of tokens, or of a user's Netflix watch history. The input to our systems is a little different. It is pure, raw brain power. And when we think about the ML systems we can build here at Neuralink, really we're limited by our imagination and our creativity. There's no reason our ML systems can't do anything that the human brain can do, such as controlling a phone, typing, or even gaming. Right here to
I don't give a fuck about your AI ML bullshit.
This was basically an out-of-the-box experience for our participants.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone, my name is Joey. Blind Sight is our project to build a visual prosthesis to help the blind see again. Users would wear a pair of glasses with an embedded camera and receive an implant in their visual cortex. Scenes from the environment are recorded by the camera and processed into patterns of stimulation, delivered to the brain, causing visual perception and restoring functionality. Now, Blind Sight will be enabled by placing our implant into visual cortex. This is a new brain area for us, and this brings new opportunities and challenges. So the surface of the brain for visual cortex represents just a few degrees of angle in the center of the visual field. Larger fields of view are represented deep within the cortical folds of the calcarine fissure. Our threads are able to access these deeper structures, providing the possibility of restoring vision over a functionally useful visual field. So the N1 implant has had experimental stimulation capabilities for quite some time, but our new S2 chip is designed from the ground up for stimulation. It provides over 1,600 channels of electrical stimulation, high dynamic range recording capabilities, and a wide range of microstimulation currents and voltages. We can achieve these capabilities because we are vertically integrated, and we designed this custom ASIC in-house. Similarly, we design and fabricate our electrode threads in-house. And here you can see one of our standard threads designed for recording in an electron micrograph. For Blind Sight, our requirements are a little different, and our vertical integration allows us to rapidly iterate on the design and manufacturing of these threads for this new purpose. So here, I'm using red arrows to highlight the electrode contacts, which are optimized for stimulation. And as you can see, they're a little bit larger, which results in a lower electrical impedance for safe and effective charge delivery, which is important for Blind Sight. Now, how can we calibrate our implant for Blind Sight? So here's one way. We stimulate on the array, picking, say, 3 different channels. The user perceives something, say 3 spots of light, somewhere in their visual field, and points at them. We track their arm and eye movements and repeat this process for each of the channels on the array. And here's what a simulated example of a Blind Sight vision could look like after calibration.
That would be crazy.
Now, I showed you how for Blind Sight we need to insert threads deeper into the brain.
The craziest thing that I feel like a crazy thing that Elon talked about. God, I hate that fat fucking ketamine fucking loser. Is the implication for, I guess, all the things that your brain does, right? Like when you stimulate neurons of the brain for visual stuff. I wonder if there's like a different process, because the brain adds a lot of information and everything to the overall picture that you think you see. I wonder what that process is like, or if it's the exact same, I guess, if you stimulate them, the neurons like you are here, or if it's like a different, you put together a different picture.
Than we have previously. And doing this requires state-of-the-art medical imaging. So we worked with Siemens to get some of the best scanners on Earth. We built out our imaging core from scratch in the past year. Actually, it was faster than that. It was about 4 months from dirt to done. And since bringing the scanners online, we scanned over 50 internal participants, building out a database of human structural and functional anatomy. What can we do with the imaging information from these scanners? So medical imaging can be used for surgical placement. It lets us parcelate out.
Also, not to be a capitalist dick suck, but if there was like huge money on these implants and everything and a ton of research here, I bet there are so many neuroscientists that are fucking coming off the backs of like all of the equipment, all of the new people that they have to demo stuff on, all of the new scans, and like there's probably a fucking plethora of information that is like pouring out of this stuff that these people haven't had access to before.
Brain regions by their function, and we use our imaging capabilities to refine the placement for telepathy. It also gives us the capability to target new brain regions for future products, such as blind sight or speech prosthesis. And we're working towards more capabilities. So one-click automated planning of surgery from functional images to robot insertion targets. Here you can see a screen capture from one of our in-house tooling to do end-to-end surgical planning. You can see a region of motor cortex known as hand knob, and the thread trajectory plans that'll be sent directly to the robot. This is a really incredible degree of automation that's only possible because we're controlling the system from one end to the other.
My name's John, and I lead the robot mechanical team. This is our current R1 robot. It was used to implant the first 7 participants. This robot works really well, but it has a few flaws, one of which is the cycle time is rather slow. So to insert each thread, it takes, in the best case scenario, 17 seconds. And in many cases, external disturbances cause us to have to retry to grasp that thread and then reinsert it.
That sounds horrifying.
To scale our number of neurons accessed through higher channel count, increased numbers of threads, we need to have a much faster cycle time. So let me introduce our next generation robot, which is right here. Through rethinking the way that we hold the implant in front of the robot by holding it directly in front on the robot head, we're able to achieve an 11 times cycle time improvement. So each thread takes 1.5 seconds. We also scale up a lot of surgery workflow process improvements through deleting the separate operator station and implant stand. Now, the outside of the robot looks pretty similar between the two, but it's what's inside that really counts. Each system has been redesigned from the ground up with a focus on reliability, manufacturability, serviceability, and using a lot of our vertical integration techniques. It's enabled us to have a lot more control of the system end to end. Now, that fast cycle time doesn't mean much if it's not compatible with a significant portion of the human population. Prior to each surgery, we scan a participant's anatomy and ensure that they will be compatible with the robot and vice versa. Unfortunately, the robot isn't compatible with everyone, so we had to extend the reach of the needle in the next generation robot, and now we're compatible with more than 99% of the human population. We've also increased the depth that the needle can insert threads. Now we can reach more than 50 millimeters from the surface of the brain, accessing and enabling new indications. We have to produce a ton of custom sterile components for each surgery. We actually supply more than 20 of these parts. Many of these parts are made through traditional CNC manufacturing capabilities, which we do just on the other side of this wall, actually, and some custom developed processes like this femtosecond laser milling used to manufacture the tip of the needle. Now, these processes take quite a bit of time, effort, and cost. So let's take a look at how we're going to reduce costs and time for one of the components. So the current needle cartridge has a total cycle time of about 24 hours, and the machine components cost about...
Hi, I'm Julian. I'm one of the leads on the implant team. So the way humans communicate today, if they want to output information, is by using their hands and their voice, as I'm doing right now. And if you want to receive information, you use your ears and your eyes. And of course, that's how you're receiving this very talk. But we've built this implant. And this implant is very special because it is the first time that we're able to add a completely new mode of data transfer into and out of the brain. If you look at this device in a nutshell, it's really just sampling voltages in the brain and sending them over radio. But if you zoom out and look at the system from end to end, what you actually see is that we're connecting your brain, or a biological neural net, to a machine learning model, or a silicon neural net on the right-hand side. And I actually think this is really elegant because the machine learning model on the right-hand side is in fact inspired by neurons on the left-hand side. And so in some sense, we're really extending the fundamental substrate of the brain. For the first time, we're able to do this in a mass market product. That's a very, very special piece of hardware. So these are some of the first implants that we ever built. There are electrodes that were made with our in-house lithography tools. We have custom ASICs that we also designed in-house. And this was really a platform for us to develop the technology that allows us to sense micro-level volts in the brain across thousands of channels simultaneously. We learned a lot from this, but as you'll notice in the right two images, there are USB-C connectors on these devices. These are not really the most implantable implants. This next set of images are the wireless implants. And there was a complete evolution that we went through to add the battery, the antenna, the radio, and to make it actually fully implantable. Once it's implanted, it's completely invisible. It's very compact, it's modular, and it's a general platform that you can use in many places in the brain. Going from that top row to the bottom row is very challenging. The implant you see on the bottom right here is in fact the device that we have working in 7 participants today, and it's augmenting their brain every day and restoring their autonomy. But getting to that point involved a huge number of formidable engineering challenges. We first had to make a hermetic enclosure.
Okay. Fuck, I need to sleep, guys. Wait, this last one real quick.
Musk's brain chip company recently pushed back on claims that it violated animal welfare laws.
3 years old.
Signals. Human subject mentally controlled a tablet to do things like browse the web, send emails, and play games or music.
All that's been done with a couple hundred electrodes.
But in 2019, Neuralink, a private company, changed the game when it unveiled a pig named Gertrude with a wireless implant that monitored about 1,000 neurons.
The neurons are like wiring, and you kind of need an electronic thing to solve an electronic problem.
That was a very interesting moment because it signaled to the community that they're serious, they're investing, they're building hardware from scratch, and they're putting it in large animals. For the pig, the electrodes were implanted in somatosensory cortex, allowing them to measure sensory activity, like that of taking a step. Every time that particular neuron they were listening to fired, you would hear this little pop or click from the audio channel. And so the moment I heard it, right, it's like, oh yeah, they got neurons. You just recognize it instantly. You know what neurons sound like if you've been listening to them for decades. And that's what they were communicating, right? They were telling the field, we've got neurons, pay attention.
And overnight, it seemed the industry took notice. Then, in April of 2021, Neuralink released the so-called Mind Pong video.
Pager was the name. It's a rhesus macaque, which is the type of monkey that is very commonly used in this field. Implanted with 2 of the N1 devices, the Neuralink devices, performing brain control of a cursor on screen. That's extremely significant because here, Neuralink is showing their new hardware, their new device in their hands, works in a monkey. That's the level that's necessary to convince the scientific community, to convince the FDA that you're ready to go into human clinical trials. That's the evidence the FDA is looking for.
The recording power of the N1 device in Pager was eye-opening because of the sheer number of individual electrodes that had been implanted.
There was definitely a lot of clever engineering that went into that to build a device that can transmit 2048 electrodes worth of spiking information, right, of digital ones and zeros of spikes over a radio wirelessly. And when you have that many channels, the performance that you should be able to get should eclipse what we've been able to do in the academic field. The maximum number of electrodes I've ever recorded from is 200 to 300.
So with all those electrodes, how does a device like the N1 get implanted in a subject's brain?
Make no mistake, this is neurosurgery. It is not a joke. This requires cutting the skin, getting down to skull, drilling a hole in the skull, exposing what's called the dura, which is this protective layer of tissue that surrounds the brain, cutting the dura, folding it back to expose the brain, and then you get to the surface of the brain where you can implant the electrodes. The biggest risks with these types of techniques are infection, bleeding, and tissue damage.
So what would it take for the FDA to approve clinical trials in humans?
The Neuralink device are called class 3 medical devices. They are implantable and they're going into very sensitive body cavities. That is the highest level of scrutiny that the FDA assigns to medical devices. They don't have a predecessor. There's no previous example that's approved. And so, very appropriately, they got a high bar they have to cross in order to get it approved. So what Neuralink has to do next is prepare a very long and technical document with all the evidence.
Damn, this is the coolest shit in the universe. This is actually super sick. And this is a 3-year-old video. Okay, 10 to 15 years ago, this shit sucked. But they actually have like they're reading, what do they have for they said they could send stuff. Do they have any examples of that yet, or is that still like in animal testing? I know they talked about it in that video. Damn, we might have some crazy shit in like 5 or 10 years. Damn. I feel like missing limb people could actually have like some real ass shit, because you wouldn't have to constantly do the recalibrating thing, because you would always be calibrating because you'd just be using your body constantly, right? I feel like that's like the current like best case scenario is actual like prosthetic limbs that. I wonder if you could send like for sensory information, like sending stuff so that there's like some kind of like feedback, like you can actually tell when you're touching or whatever. Damn.